Good morning, dear students. Today I will discuss Chapter 5 Footprints Without Feet. This chapter is written by H.G. Wells. He was born on September 21, 1866, in Kent, England. In this story, Footprints Without Feet, Griffin, a brilliant scientist, discovers a rare drug that could make a man invisible. But because the scientist was a lawless person, at the same time he misuses his scientific discovery of being invisible. Griffin uses his newfound power for his own selfish needs and causes trouble for the people around him. People say that with great power comes great responsibility, but in this story we see that with his power, Griffin causes only mischief and trouble. Now, let's discuss the detailed summary of the chapter. Griffin was a brilliant scientist but a lawless person. So, when he discovered, after doing a lot of experiments, how to make a human body invisible by swallowing certain rare drugs, he misused his power. The first time he misused his power was when his landlord, who disliked him, told him to vacate his house, which was taken on rent by Griffin. Being angry and annoyed, Griffin set the house on fire. After that, to get away without being seen, Griffin took off his clothes so that he could become invisible. Thus, he became homeless and then wandered aimlessly in the city. It turned out that Griffin had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about the city, as it was extremely cold outside. That is why he was finding it very difficult to roam about without clothes. When he could tolerate the cold no more, Griffin entered a London store. At night, when the doors of the store were closed, Griffin managed to open various boxes in the store to wear the warm clothes. After wearing the clothes, Griffin became a visible person. He took cold meat, coffee and sweets from the restaurant of the store, and finally feeling tired, he lay down on a heap of quilts and fell asleep there. In the morning, on opening the store, two assistants of the store were surprised to see Griffin. Seeing them, Griffin panicked and started running. The shop assistants followed him, and in the end, to escape, Griffin had no alternative than to take off his clothes, which made him invisible again. Griffin finally had the thought that London was no longer safe for him because he could be recognized by so many people. Therefore, he entered a theatrical store and found bandages, glasses, false nose, etc. to hide his identity. Then he hit the shopkeeper from behind to escape without being seen and ran away with all of his money. Getting away from the crowded London, Griffin then reached a small village called Epping. He booked 2 rooms in an inn there. The people of the village received him as a strange fellow because not only had he arrived at the inn in winter, which was unusual, but also because he looked so different with his dress and behavior. Still, Griffin remained secluded and did not speak or mix with the people there. He even behaved indifferently with Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, who wanted to be friendly with him. But even away from London, Griffin did not stop his wicked actions and continued to be lawless. He stole the money from the clergyman's desk by becoming invisible because the money he had stolen before had already finished. Then, soon thereafter, Griffin hit Mrs. Hall with his hat and hurled a chair at her and at her husband to get them out of the room, as he had been invisible at that time. Since he was invisible, he thought that he could not be caught by anybody for his wrong actions. But the people reported the matter of the theft to the police, and Griffin was strongly suspected of his crime. Soon the village constable, Mr. Jaffers, arrived at the scene where Griffin had revealed himself to be invisible. But the constable found it very difficult to arrest an invisible man. The constable tried his best to arrest him, but Griffin took the advantage of being invisible and knocked down the constable. After making himself free, Griffin then disappeared. In this way, we can say that despite being a brilliant scientist in his sense, Griffin was a lawless person who used his scientific discovery to achieve his own petty selfish gains. Griffin used his discovery of invisibility to trouble the people he did not like, and further used his own discovery to attain his short sighted, petty, selfish gains. Thus, we can say that Griffin was a brilliant scientist but a wicked, narrow minded person who misused his intelligence to achieve his narrow, short term, selfish gains. Thank you and have a nice day.